Dominant, clinical, and reliable. Those are three adjectives that perfectly sum up the career of Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans so far. And despite missing 3 games due to injury this year, Evans finds himself just 85 yards short of his 11th consecutive 1,000-yard season, a truly remarkable streak that will surely land him in the Hall of Fame. But what happened to the 6 players drafted before him? And are there any that would be selected over him? Well, in today's video, we're going to figure out who were the 6 players drafted before Mike Evans.
With the first pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Javon Clowney.
The Gamecocks defensive end appeared to be the full package coming out of the draft, combining speed, size, and explosiveness in a way that earned him the generational talent label. As with any first overall pick, expectations were sky high, but a frustrating knee injury derailed Clowney's rookie campaign, restricting him to just 4 games played and a disappointing 0 sacks. And as much as it sucked to see, many Texans fans would have to wait to see the true potential of Javon Clowney get released until his 2nd year. Once healthy, Clowney did show some signs of being a game-changing talent. A solid return from injury in 2015 made way for his first Pro Bowl season in 2016 with 6 sacks and 1 forced fumble. 2 more Pro Bowl seasons followed immediately after, with 9 sacks arriving in each to go along with 3 more forced fumbles. The improvements were promising, but it was ultimately a disappointing 5 years for Clowney, especially when you consider his first overall selection. As a result, he was franchise tagged and traded to the Seattle Seahawks, which marked the beginning of a journeyman phase in Clowney's career. A disappointing 3-sack season with the Seahawks transitioned into an injury-plagued campaign with the Tennessee Titans in 2020, in which Clowney posted 0 sacks in 8 games. He did manage to revive his stock with a 9-sack effort with the Cleveland Browns in 2021, but just 2 sacks in the following year meant it was time for another change of scenery. And honestly, this change of scenery did work in Clowney's favor. He went on to tie his career-high 9.5 sacks and 2 forced fumbles in Baltimore, proven to be a useful asset for the league's top-scoring defense. In doing so, he helped Baltimore reach the playoffs, and while he couldn't convince them to keep him in the building, he did earn a 2-year, $20 million deal with the Carolina Panthers for the 2024 season. And I mean, honestly, this year, Clowney has been doing as much as he can, but on that terrible Panthers defense, there's not much he can do to try and really bring them up to league par. His 4.5 sacks aren't anything to write home about, but his 70.2 defensive grade from PFF shows that he still does have some value to offer and can hopefully help the team improve in 2025.
The second pick in the 2014 NFL Draft, St. Louis Rams select Greg Robinson.
And now, once Greg Robinson was drafted, the Rams had huge expectations for him, but basically would fall flat on his face to become the first bust of the 2024 NFL Draft. And this is one of the players that certainly Mike Evans should have been drafted before. Robinson's struggles began early, conceding 7 sacks and 11 penalties as a rookie, which worsened to 15 penalties as a sophomore. It was a concerning start, made worse by the fact that he had turned up to his 2016 training camp 15 pounds overweight. And I mean, when that happens, that is not something that you are expecting to have from this 2nd overall pick in the draft. The Rams even tried shuffling through various other positions on the offensive line, but when none brought about any sustained success, they declined his 5th-year option, making him a free agent after the 2017 season. Despite the rough start, highly drafted prospects are always enticing for NFL teams. The Detroit Lions decided to take a chance on Robinson and hope they could find some of that potential, only for him to be waived by November. Just like Javon Clowney selected before him, Robinson managed to find some form in Cleveland, earning the starting role in the 2nd half of the season and playing well enough to be re-signed for the 2019 campaign, in which he posted a career-high PFF offensive grade of 66.3. Unfortunately though, pretty much any hope of his career being fully resurrected were just completely dashed when the dude was found with 160 pounds of marijuana in his car. I'm gonna let Jim Rome explain it perfectly.
157 pounds is more than I weigh right now.
Fortunately for Robinson, he did avoid prison, but the incident all but ended his career with him not having played a snap since. This, truly was not what the Rams had wanted from their 2nd overall pick, making him our first bust of a selection. Picking 3rd in the 2014 NFL Draft was the Jacksonville Jaguars, who decided to take the first quarterback off the board.
The Jacksonville Jaguars select Blake Bortles.
Blake Bortles was tasked with turning around this franchise that had not posted a winning record in 6 seasons. His 6'5" frame, strong arm, and stellar collegiate resume seemed to make him a sensible selection inside the top 3, and he certainly flashed some high-end potential that would back this up. The only problem was, though, is there was just as much bad about Blake Bortles as much as there was good. As a sophomore, he threw for 4,428 yards and 35 touchdowns, but turnovers were a constant issue, resulting in a league-leading 18 interceptions that year. Nevertheless, his good moments had encouraged his peers to rank him 56 on the NFL's top 100 list for the 2015 season, only for him to decline 1 year later when leading the team to just 3 wins in 2016. And by now, after that season too, Blake Bortles was just one of the most confusing players and hardest players to try and wrap your head around. He was regularly posting good yardage and touchdown totals, but not having completed more than 59% of his passes in any of his first 3 seasons and contributing to at least 16 interceptions in each. Nevertheless, he did try to earn the fans' admiration with a surprising 2017 season in which a late season surge saw him lead the Jaguars to a 10-6 record and the team's first division title since 1999. Benefiting from an elite defense, the Jags made it all the way to the AFC Championship game, where they lost in controversial fashion to the New England Patriots. Bortles had held his own throughout the playoffs, passing for 594 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions, but he was once again unable to capitalize on the momentum, declining to throw 13 touchdowns to 11 interceptions in 2018. A season in which the Jaguars could only muster up a 5-11 record. By the 2018 season, the Jags had also seen enough, releasing him just 1 year after signing him to a 3-year deal. Bortles signed with the LA Rams, where he would throw a grand total of 2 pass attempts, which would be his last spot as an NFL quarterback.
With the 4th pick, the Buffalo Bills select Sammy Watkins.
With the 4th pick in the draft, though, the Buffalo Bills would make a bold move to trade up and select Clemson star wide receiver Sammy Watkins. Watkins was an extremely highly regarded wideout in an explosive play waiting to happen, hitting the ground running in Buffalo, setting new Bills rookie records with 65 receptions and 982 yards. He then improved as a sophomore to surpass the 1,000-yard mark in just 13 games to go along with a league-leading 9 touchdowns. Unfortunately, an injury prevented Watkins from playing half of his 3rd season in the NFL, resulting in just 430 yards and 2 touchdowns from his 8 games played. It's also worth noting that by now, Mike Evans had improved from 1,051 yards and 12 touchdowns as a rookie to 1,200 yards as a sophomore and over 1,300 yards in year 3. Watkins, despite being picked 3 picks earlier than Mike Evans, had honestly just underwhelmed, leading to the Buffalo Bills declining his 5th-year option and trading him to the LA Rams. In LA, though, there would be no magical revival, freeing Watkins up to sign with a 3-year deal with the Chiefs in 2018. And yes, while he never posted more than 673 yards or 3 touchdowns in any season with the Chiefs, he did manage to turn it on for one magical postseason in 2019, in which his 288 yards and 1 touchdown helped Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs win a Super Bowl. That was about as good as it got for Watkins, whose yardage totally declined every year from that point onwards with a different team every season, but he can also at least be proud that he earned his Super Bowl ring. Nevertheless, though, Buffalo has to be kicking themselves as they opted to select Watkins over Mike Evans. At 5th overall, though, we have our first gem of the 2014 draft class.
5th pick, the Oakland Raiders select Khalil Mack.
Weighing in at 6'3", 269 pounds, and fresh off of a box office collegiate effort in Buffalo, Khalil Mack was viewed as a very high upside prospect. He was one of the most imposing figures in the entire 2014 class, and he quickly proved that his game-wrecking ability would transfer to the pro level. He notched a handy 75 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks as a rookie before going absolutely berserk as a sophomore in 2015, increasing his sack total to 15 and his tackles for loss to 23. The 2015 campaign would be the first of 6 consecutive Pro Bowl selections and 2 consecutive first-team All-Pro nods. It was in 2016, though, that he would really set himself apart, winning the Defensive Player of the Year award with an 11-sack effort that also featured 5 forced fumbles and an interception which was returned for a touchdown. With Mack terrorizing offenses as one of the league's most dominant defensive weapons, the Raiders enjoyed a 12-4 record, which was their first double-digit winning season since 2002. By all accounts, Khalil Mack was the cornerstone of that Raiders defense, which is why he came as such a shock to the world when he was traded to the Chicago Bears after the 2017 season, in which he just posted another double-digit sack effort. The Raiders did get 2 first-rounders in the trade, but the decision was widely condemned, with the trade looking even worse after Mack logged 12.5 sacks, 1 interception, and a career-high 6 forced fumbles in his first season as a Bear. He earned his 3rd first-team All-Pro for his efforts and came 2nd in Defensive Player of the Year voting that year as well. While Mack's sack total did decline in ensuing years with the Bears, he continued playing at Pro Bowl level until an injury limited him to just 8 games in 2021. And by that time in 2021, the Chicago Bears were just completely stumbling into mediocrity, and also were thinking that maybe Khalil Mack's just prime was completely done, and it was time to try and offload him onto somebody, which is how he ended up on the Chargers. Surprisingly enough though, the Bears were completely wrong and his best days weren't even behind him yet. Khalil Mack kicked off his time in LA with 8 sacks in 2022 before hitting a career-high 17.5 sacks in 2023. At the age of 33, Mack is still contributing to a good Chargers defense and will be as motivated as ever to make the team's 2024 postseason charge a long one. Like, I mean, truly, this probably was one of the only players that you could actually consider that should have gone before Mike Evans in this draft. Because really, besides Mike Evans and a couple other players from this draft, or I should say a few other players from this draft, Mack is one of the only guys that's still going strong along with Mike Evans. The Atlanta Falcons were up next, opting to take the 2nd offensive tackle off the board, and they will be much happier with their choice than the Rams were.
With the 6th pick, the Atlanta Falcons select Jake Matthews.
Jake Matthews from Texas A&M has been a rock-solid figure for the Falcons, earning a PFF passing blocking grade of at least 77 in every single season of his career, other than his rookie campaign. 11 penalties and 7 sacks conceded in that 2014 season does reflect the tough transition from college to the pro game for an offensive lineman, but he tidied things up nicely as a sophomore to concede just 1 sack and 4 penalties. Ever since then, Matthews has been a supremely reliable option as one of the league's most important positions, and he is celebrated for his durability, having only missed 1 game throughout his 11-year career, and as a result, has logged just shy of 12,000 snaps, earning 2 lucrative extensions worth over $125 million along the way. And now, yes, I know that Jake Matthews may not be the flashy pick of Khalil Mack or even Mike Evans, but being able to just surefire have an offensive tackle that's that good for as long as they have definitely made it easier to try and focus on other parts of their offense while they still had him. But now that brings us to the selection of Mike Evans at 7th overall to, well, the team he's always played for, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
With the 7th pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Mike Evans.
By following Jake Matthews, Evans would become the 2nd consecutive Aggie to be selected and absolutely the 2nd hit in a row. He immediately proved his worth by passing the 1,000-yard mark as a rookie, also notching 12 touchdowns on the season, which was good enough to earn him 3rd place in the Offensive Rookie of the Year voting. That yardage total improved to 1,260 yards as a sophomore before improving yet again to 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns in 2016, which earned him selections to the 2nd team All-Pro and Pro Bowl rosters for the first time. Evans has truly just been a model of consistency and quality through those first 3 years of his career, and he's managed to maintain that reputation all the way through to this 2024 campaign. During that time, he's racked up a total of 12,483 yards and 103 touchdowns, surpassing the 1,000-yard mark in each of his 10 completed seasons, and now only 85 yards away from doing it again in 2024. I think it's safe to say that you can be absolutely sure that Baker Mayfield will be doing everything in his power to make sure this guy gets across the line this weekend. And I mean, as for Evans, there's little doubt that he is a first ballot Hall of Famer and one of the greatest wide receivers of this generation. Like, I mean, to post so many consecutive 1,000-yard seasons is a true testament to his dedication and talent, warranting selections to the 2nd team All-Pro roster twice and 5 Pro Bowls. His biggest prize came in the 2020 season though, when Tom Brady arrived in Tampa Bay and promptly won the franchise a Super Bowl. In doing so, Evans got himself the ring that his career deserves, solidifying himself as an all-time great and a first ballot Hall of Famer. And if you want to see exactly what NFL players think about Joe Burrow, then click this video right here.